Hey guys, it's 2.4, step 1, using a social justice lens. Our learning objective for this lesson, students will be able to read chapter 4 and analyze Of Mice and Men using a social justice lens. Let's get started. First of all, social justice lens is a theory focused on looking critically at race. What does race mean? Well, I have a definition for you here. And so let me give it to you. This is the definition that we are using in our district with the help of a program called Courageous Conversations. Race is defined by this program as a group of people thought to share certain distinctive physical characteristics, such as facial structure and or skin color. Race is socially constructed, but has very real consequences. So thought to share is an interesting phrase here, and what this has to do, why this phrase is used, thought to share, is that there isn't a lot of scientific evidence that supports that race is real. It is socially constructed. Now, that doesn't mean that racism is not real. What people have done is we've constructed this thing called race, and we have given it a lot of power, unfortunately. And so we are stuck with this, the effects of this that has, of racism, that has very real consequences. How about a couple more definitions for you? Here's a couple more definitions from Courageous Conversations. The next one is racism. Racism is any act that even unwittingly tolerates, accepts, or reinforces racially unequal opportunities or outcomes. So even if you don't know that you're being racist, you can still be racist. There's a big myth there that people think, well, I didn't mean it that way. It doesn't matter. You can still be engaged in racist behavior without even knowing it. Whiteness is defined by Courageous Conversations as the component of each and every one of ourselves that expects assimilation to the dominant culture. Does that sound familiar? That sounds like something Benita Younger would have said in A Raisin in the Sun, right? Assimilation, fitting into becoming the same as the dominant culture. In our case, the dominant culture is white because of white supremacy. Privilege is our last word that we'll define here. Privilege is a right or advantage that is given to some people and not others. And so in the social justice lens, we are looking at how white privilege affects certain characters and what privileges they have because of their race. All right, well, the social justice lens, what else do we have? We have to fill in these notes in your packet. Race is a social construct that has created racist systems within the way a community is structured and run. We don't have to be racist as humans. We have chosen to be that way, unfortunately. Our ancestors, our predecessors, and they have created this racist society that we live in. Now that we understand that, it's our job to act as anti-racists to try to stop white supremacy. Systems that shape how our society is structured and run often treat individuals and groups differently based on their race and other aspects of their identity. These systems privilege and favor white people. Because of this, people of color often experience racism, and sometimes it's undercover, unconscious even. People don't even see the racism unless you are the person of color experiencing it. The social justice lens seeks to remove focus from privileged groups and instead give the perspective of underprivileged groups or people of color. Social justice lens questions that we want to take a look at are these. First of all, where does race appear and shape the ways the characters interact with one another? How is racism challenged or accepted by the characters? What problems arise from this? What systems are put in place based on race in the text? How does race impact the outcomes of the characters? What happens to them? How are different racial groups portrayed? And then whose perspective is the dominant narrative, the most powerful storyteller in the text? Whose perspective isn't shown? When it comes to Of Mice and Men, we only have one character who's not white, and it is Crooks. Even his name is interesting. He's called derogatory terms in the book, and he's treated quite differently. And so the racism will be quite explicit and obvious. So work on answering the questions now in your packet as you read chapter 4 and learn more about the character Crooks.